week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael New Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 378, Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
Thursdays are definitely better with The Magic Mike Show. We quite agree. Thank you so much for joining us on The Magic Mike Show live here on Thursday, June 2nd. Hey, we're going to be covering Churchill Downs' late pick 5. It's all stakes. I'm really excited about it, Mike. Real quick, for the folks, let them know why we decided to do pick 5 instead of pick 4 when it comes to Churchill Downs.
Take out. Pick 5 is significantly less. I think it's like 15% on the pick 5. And it's like 22, 23% on the pick 4. So yeah, spend your money wisely. It's more fun to play the pick 5. The payouts are bigger. And oh, by the way, the track gives you a little bit better chances of making some money. So yeah, we like the pick 5 more than the pick 4 here specifically because of takeout. Talk a lot about selecting the right pools. And this is definitely one of those situations where, especially in a race that kicks off the pick 5, I think you can get through pretty skinny. Although we have some disagreement and you're going to be out in the first leg, but we'll get to that soon. You don't have to go crazy with your budget here. I mean, I think my ticket's like $54, something like that. So you don't have to break the bank here to put a reasonable ticket together.
We have either perfect or near perfect agreement in 4 of the 5 legs here, and then the one leg, it just kind of goes completely over the rails, but it'll be a lot of fun to talk about that. But yeah, let's get into it, Mike. We've got a long show. It'll be a lot of fun. If you're joining us live in the chat, let us know your thoughts for Saturday, June 4th at Churchill Downs. The late pick 5. Here we go, Mike. Riders up. By the way, one race earlier, race 6, our boy Strava is back at Churchill Downs. He's in the race. McLaren Vale he's coupled with is not in the race. That's horse racing. Hey, Mike, first leg of the all stakes late pick 5 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, June 4th, race 7. This is the Shawnee Stakes for 6 older fillies and mares going to mount 16th on the dirt. Number 5, Pauline's Pearl. At first glance, huge 3-5 morning line favorite. You think, oh, easy single. Let's move on and just, we got a free leg before we start the late pick 4. But that makes her the most likely single, and you and I are both going to use her, but we're trying to beat her in case she doesn't fire.
Yeah, I'm actually going to play a $5 ticket too myself, and I went on actual race day, and I'm not going to put her in the $5 ticket. I loved Pauline's Pearl last time she ran at Churchill. She ran great. She won the La Troyenne. I was able to beat She Dares the Devil and Ava Grace, and she looked awesome beating She Dares the Devil. Ran into CC the race before that. No shame in losing to CC at all. I just am really excited about the return of Army Wife here, and that's going to be the other horse I use, and that's the horse I put on top, actually. If you go back in the past performances, Army Wife dusted Pauline's Pearl before. Army Wife at 3, I believe, was running against better horses, specifically got Malathat and Clariere in her back races there. Her Alabama was phenomenal. The race at Prairie Meadows was phenomenal. I think she is got the chance to take a big-time step forward first out as a 4-year-old. Make her usually pretty good off the layoff, 14%, so I'll take that. The workouts have been good. The workout reports have been good. I think it's all systems go here for Army Wife. And if she fires her best effort and improves off her 3-year-old numbers, she's better than Pauline's Pearl is. And you're going to get 4 times the price, 5 times the price for a horse that I think is more talented in this spot. So I'm going to put Army Wife on top. I'm going to go too deep and use Pauline's Pearl as well. But I'll probably be a little more aggressive on race day with a second ticket and then single Army Wife here.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Army Wife in general. Since the Iowa Oaks, when she did beat Pauline's Pearl by, over 6 lengths, it looks like. Yeah, a little over 6 lengths she beat her there. First of all, Pauline's Pearl is a horse that probably didn't like the way that the pace set up that way. But regardless, Army Wife, that was kind of where she peaked with that career best, or at the time, career best 90 buyer. Since then, Pauline's Pearl has only been kind of going up and up. And it's interesting you bring up the fact that if she improves off of that or the Alabama number, when she got a 92 buyer, improvement off of that puts her right with Pauline's Pearl because our favorite is coming off of a 94 buyer when she won a grade 1 over this track and a 96 career best buyer that maybe was a little inflated because it was at Zia Park. So Pauline's Pearl at 3-5. What you and I are both trying to say is that we think she is beatable here. She is beatable at this price. There is not. I mean, if she had a bunch of triple-digit buyers, and she's, if this is Latruska in this race, 3-5, single her, move on. But this isn't Latruska, so. It's also interesting. I was talking to Aaron yesterday. I was like, why is Pauline's Pearl still at Churchill? She just won a grade 1. Like, why is she here and she's not in the Ogden Phipps? And I went, oh, that's right. Asmussen's got Clairiere. So that's his A horse. She's going to the Ogden Phipps. Pauline's Pearl going to get a nice, maybe a $200,000 workout. You're going with the 4 to try and beat her. I'm going to use the 6, Crazy Beautiful. I think Kenny McPeak is sitting on a big upset here with Crazy Beautiful. Crazy Beautiful is 5 for 9 at the distance. She's had 3 tries at Churchill. If you scratch off the Kentucky Oaks, the other 2 were very solid. You notice the last time that she won at Churchill Downs was last October in the Seneca Overnight Stakes. 1 race after getting her ass beat by a better horse in Malathat. Well, what's happening with Crazy Beautiful? She got her ass beat by Malathat, finished 6th last time out. Now she's showing up in this spot. I'm saying that in just a little bit, but this is a huge class drop from her. And by the way, she did win a race 2 back. So it's not like, Seneca Overnight, she hasn't won since then. It's not like with Army Wife, we're trying to make it, hey, maybe, she hasn't won since last summer, but maybe now she can get back in the winner's circle. This is a horse that's done it, and so is Pauline's Pearl. So I'm going to use the 2 of them here. You're using 4 and 5. But really, if we can get Pauline's Pearl beat, this thing is going to pay enormously, no matter if it chalks out or not.
Yeah, I think she's going to be over singled. That's for sure. I think 3-5 is probably close to the off odds in this spot. Maybe it floats up a little bit to 4-5. I hear you that Crazy Beautiful is a little interesting. My problem is like Crazy Beautiful is raced and not progressed since those races that you mentioned. And the win you're talking about is over a synthetic track at Turfway. So to me, there's just, and look, this is the type of horse that Kenny McPeak every now and then pops up with and wins. And so I'm not going to just completely bash Crazy Beautiful in this spot. And I don't understand how Kenny McPeak tries to train his horses and move them forward because he seems like he's a little all over the place. But hey, that synthetic thing worked, was able to get the win there. And now we're in here. I mean, maybe you can get that run. I think Ava's Grace is a little interesting as lone speed, but I'm not as concerned about her. I think that Army's Wife and Pauline's Pearl are just a little more classy. You can kind of say the same thing about Crazy Beautiful as well. So I agree with you. I think that you properly analyze it where Pauline's Pearl probably shouldn't be 3-5 in this spot. And it makes sense to take a swing against her, especially if you're doing press tickets, and for sure to try and get around her if you can in a 50-cent ticket.
Credit to Marty McGee. It was the first one I saw tweet about it, but he said, when was the last time you saw 2 horses exit a grade 1 into grade 1 victories into listed stakes races? And that's what you got here with you have Pauline's Pearl and the American Revolution exiting grade 1 win. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But Mike, before we get there, we have the second leg of the All Stakes Late Pick 5 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, June 4th, race 8. This is the Arlington Stakes, the only graded event. Field of 6 older males going 1 mile and a 16th on the grass. And the number 1 admission office shows up here. First time gelding. This horse, even though he likes to run longer, he won the Louisville Handicap. He's only a total of 1 length away from being undefeated over the course in 3 tries. Neither of us are using. We actually have full agreement in this race.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting race. I mean, it was just 6 horses. It's going to be interesting how the pace plays out up front. You got a couple horses that want to go. Admission office coming off this long layoff is kind of tough to figure out what to do with. Lynch, very good off the layoff, 28%. So, and they also gelded this horse, which I thought was interesting. But this horse is going to come from way back in this pack. I'm not sure that that's going to be the best place to be when you're kind of figuring out how to run here. I felt like there were better places to end up, and I don't love the price at 3-1, which I do think is probably around what you're going to get there. My top pick was the 2-horse Floriform. This is a 4-year-old second off the layoff, who I think has a shot at taking a monster step forward. Faced Cheryl Spite and Get Smokin' 2 back, and that was kind of the kickoff to that 4-year-old season. Ends up running 3rd to Get Smokin', who's the other horse I'm going to use in here, spoiler alert. And then comes up and takes what I believe is a kind of a step forward. Chellis came back to win, I believe, a graded stakes at Churchill off of that Keeneland allowance. And now you have Floriform, who I think is going to be able to take a step forward here, second off. The layoff is a 4-year-old a little later in the season. And if Floriform is able to take a step forward and get that trip I expect, because I kind of think we're going to be 2x2x2 here, he's going to be in that second pack. If he's going to be in that second pack, and I think if he gets the right trip and is able to get loose, he's going to be tough to beat coming into the lane.
This was not my top pick here, but I definitely love Floriform, and you're right. The Cellist won the Grade 3 Louisville Stakes here last weekend, which is race the admission office has won in the past. And trainer Bill Mott, he's really good at keeping them good with horses that won their last race. He repeats at 29%. That's crazy. So along with that, you're getting Mike's favorite Kentucky jockey, Tyler Gaffleone, in the saddle. My top pick, it's my boy. The 4 Get Smoking. He's been my boy ever since he wired the Hill Prince back in 2020. This horse is fast. Nearly wired the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Stakes, and you talked about Cheryl Spite, caught him and beat him. Cheryl Spite then won the Maker's Mark Mile, which is a Grade 1 race at Keeneland next race. So that was great. We have Floriform flattering him, Cellist flattering both of them. So everything's looking good. Also, L'Imperador was in that race. I don't know if you remember that. He was 10th, had a terrible trip, goes to the Grade 2 Fort Marcy and wins that. So between the 2 and the 4, all systems are go for these 2 horses. Is there anybody else that you want to talk about? I mean, neither of us are using the 5 Field Pass, and he's the 5-2 morning line favorite.
I mean, the 5 was my third horse in. I just don't know how this horse is going to be able to win. I can't make up the trip in my mind that is the right one for this horse to get home. And then on top of that, you have Santana, who's riding, who I have talked about. I don't love on the turf. And then I don't really like, again, I don't want to have the favorite in this spot. This is one of those spots where I think if you play too many favorites, you're in trouble, because this could chalk out. I mean, if you have the 3-5 shot in the first race, we have a couple of pretty short priced horses later. I just don't want to use a favorite that I don't like at all here, and that's the 5 Field Pass. So I thought the 2 and the 4 made the most sense to move through it.
Yeah, I'm with you. The 5 and the 6, Grace Fable, to me both. I thought if they were going to win this race, they kind of needed to be lone speed and get comfortable. Neither of them are as fast as Get Smoking, and if they go with him, it's suicide. So if nobody goes with Get Smoking, I think he wires. That's why he's my top pick. If someone pushes him, I'm with you. Floriform should be right there to pick up the pieces. Third leg of the All-Stakes, late pick 5 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, June 4th. Race 9 is the Aristides Stakes for 8 older males sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. And your defending champion is back. Bango, he's on the rail. He's 6 for 12 over the course lifetime. But, Mike, he's on a 3-race skid that doesn't look that good. And it's all at this distance where he has 5 for 10. So hard to use him, easy to use him. What do you think about this race?
Oh, this race I thought was kind of fun. Bango to me is one that I'm just not interested in. Lost to Necker Island 2-back Top Gunner last time, and it's one of those spots where if you have a horse that's lost to a couple horses in the field, I just don't want to put him on my ticket. I feel like you're wasting bullets at that point because you can have them covered in other spots. On top here for me was Top Gunner, the 6 horse. Look, when you look at these sprint races and you don't have an excess of speed and you have one horse that can get the lead consistently, it can be tough to beat that horse, and that's Top Gunner. And Churchill's dirt course usually favors sprinters with speed here. I like Top Gunner's chance to take this field wire to wire. I think he's coming in here, solid form, the numbers fit. Oaklawn hasn't been as great as I would like. Horses leaving Oaklawn and coming in, but this is one of those horses that was able to win multiple times over that Oaklawn meet. It's on a 2-race winning streak. If you go back, it's in the Sam Houston Stars and Stripes, ended up losing to Ben and Greeley and Ben and Mr. Moneybags, 2 very good horses there. Ends up running third to them. I think this is just kind of the perfect spot for Top Gunner. He falls into a field that he can beat and that he can get in front of, and that's going to be the key here.
I love Top Gunner. He's my top pick as well here. Another horse that because I think we went 2 for 3 in agreement. Yeah, we're each going 3 deep here. The other one that we both really like is the 5 Bob's Edge. He's the 3-1 favorite. But, price-wise, we've got him at 3-1, Top Gunner 7-2, and then Necker Island and Bango at 4-1. Pricing-wise, it's a little shallower. You have a couple longer shots here. But for Bob's Edge, if Top Gunner gets caught, I think Bob's Edge is the one that gets him. This horse has got a motor on him when he gets rolling. If you scratch out that last race, first of all, he was in the slop. Second of all, he was facing Jackie's Warrior. This horse is 4 for 6 with 2/3 when he's going 6 furlongs on fast dirt, which is what we're supposed to get on Saturday. So Bob's Edge, man, look out for this horse. He is going to be trucking in the lane.
Yeah, I thought he was another logical horse to use here. And he was the horse I actually put in second. So I agree with you with Bob's Edge. I think that's probably your best closer in the race. So the 5 and the 6 to me are the 2 logical horses that you're going to use here. I'm going to try and take a shot with a price here. I'm going to throw the 7 Jalen Journey on here. Journey is a good name for this horse. He's a 7-year-old, like I said. So he's a little bit of a journeyman now. I think this is a really interesting placement by Asmussen. I mean, we're coming out of $110,000 allowance at Oaklawn. Race before that was an $80,000 race, and now we're jumping up to a $200,000 stakes race. When horses get older, sometimes they need a little more time to get into form. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big time improvement here, third off the layoff for Jalen Journey. I think it's an aggressive spot for Asmussen to send this horse into. he's got back speed to be able to stay close to Top Gunner if he needs to, and has some kick as well. And if I go back and I start saying, okay, what races can I point to that wins this? He's got 2 or 3 of them that are good enough to be able to beat this field, which I don't think is that tough for a $200,000 stakes race. I think at 10-1, the 7 Jalen Journey is awfully live.
I went back and forth on him, and I ultimately left him off because for him to win, to have the winning type of race in the back form at 6 furlongs, you've got to really, really go back. And we're going multiple years to back when Peter Miller was juicing him to the gills. Like this horse, if you want that kind of 6 furlong effort from him, I think that. But you bring up a great point, Mike. If you look at if you consider that maybe the 6 furlong efforts this year, he needed to get it knocked off. First of all, he improved from the first to the second start, and then the DeFrancis Dash was his last start of 2021. 6 furlongs and wasn't a bad effort. I just can't use him because I just have too many question marks about him. But I kept staring at him going, can I make a case? I felt personally I was trying too hard, but you did a better job of it than I could. I am going to use Bango. To me, this almost feels a little tiny bit like Whitmore when he went to Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup. And this is all in hindsight because none of us had Whitmore in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But he actually, at Keeneland, had to win 2 seconds in 4 tries. All in graded stakes races at Keeneland going into the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and he just went back to the course where he was very comfortable, and Bango is doing the same thing. Again, the problem with Bango is that he's been trying 6 furlongs at Churchill Downs very recently. Maybe the fact that he is 5 and now has had 22 starts more than the 7-year-old Jalen Journey, maybe he also needs a little bit of time to get going here. I wish I was getting better than 4-1, but I'm hoping, Mike, that if you look at his back form and the fact that he hasn't been as competitive in his last 3 stakes tries as he was, say, last summer, maybe that'll help my price out a little bit. And I do like that Gaffleone's going to stay aboard.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Those races back at Churchill going 6 and 7 are good enough. I understand why you'd want to play back here. I haven't loved anything he's done since. And he's run twice at Churchill where he likes this track. And both of those efforts just weren't great. I mean, Just Might and Endorse beat him, the Neckar Island and Mucho and Sir Alfred James. I mean, it's not world beaters that we're talking about. Just Might is, but Just Might is on turf, and that was a dirt race. So, like, the horses that beat him don't inspire me with confidence. And then the price is my other issue, where I would need like 10-1 to be really interested in Bango, somewhere around that. It's the same with Miles Ahead, where if the price got up to 10-1, he's a Gulfstream horse, chipped out twice, and those are his 2 worst races in his career. But the Gulfstream races are good enough to win this. And so if you're getting somewhere around 10-1, the 2 horse becomes more interesting as well. But sit on the board at 9-2 and 4-1. I think they're both under what their actual probable odds are for winning the race. And it makes it tough to put either on the ticket for me.
Before we move on, I'm pretty positive that Davey Cleveland is in the chat a long time ago when Bob's Edge was about to be a 3-year-old, almost a 3-year-old. I think he was still 2. I was asking Davey, I was talking to him on Twitter and asked him if there were any horses that he liked because it was talking fantasy-wise. He told me about Bob's Edge he thought could be a good horse. He wasn't wrong. He just was wrong in terms of thinking, maybe not a 2-turn horse, but Bob's Edge has turned into a great horse. And so, Davey, there he is. See, I knew it. Davey, I remember. I've been waiting for us to talk about Bob's Edge when you've been in the chat. So great to see it. And also, hello, Peter. Good to see you again. Mike, let's move on. The 4th leg of the All Stakes. Whoops, I already got pulled up here. No, I don't. 4th leg of the All Stakes, late pick 5 at Churchill Downs. On Saturday, June 4th, race 10, this is the Blame Stakes. All of the Zenyatta supporters just left the stream. Sorry to see you go. 8 older males going a mile and 1/8 on the dirt course here. And the world's most overhyped allowance runner ever drew the rail. I can't wait to hear why Mike Somich likes Proxy this time.
Oh, do you want me to start with that? It's not my top pick, but I'm going to use Proxy. Look, I think that Proxy's last race was, left a little bit desired. But I still think Proxy is better than Scalding and Dynamic One. And so I'm going to go ahead and use Proxy because I think Scalding and Dynamic One are both going to be wildly overbet. Dynamic One, definitely wildly overbet. Scalding, I don't think... Look, Scalding's a good horse. But, American Revolution is the best horse in this race, period. So the question is, does American Revolution wire the field? And if not, who catches American Revolution? And if that happens, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the 1-horse Proxy that gets the job done. So I'm going to stick to my guns and say Proxy is better than Scalding. I had Scalding last time. I'm not going to use Scalding this time because of the price flip. I think Proxy is better than Scalding, and I think American Revolution is the best horse in this race. So I'm going to cover this race with the best horse in the lead, American Revolution, the best horse to race, American Revolution, and the best closer in Proxy. And I'll get through with those 2 horses. And this will be the 2nd leg that you lose in the pick 5 magic.
How ironic that the race that blamed the most underrated horse the last 20 years, we have the most overrated allowance horse sitting there on the rail. I agree with you, Christopher. Thank you for bringing up that point. This is like, by the way, a weird race. You've got Grade 1 winner Superstock in here. Dynamic 1 he's actually not that bad of a horse. This is, if you couldn't tell, this is the race where Mike and I completely split apart. I hate Proxy. He is an allowance horse, and he runs like a jackass. He's not as good as Scalding just proved last race. Scalding's my top pick. I love that he's got tactical speed. He's beaten Dynamic 1 twice, along with beating Proxy. He's got the Hall of Fame jockey and trainer combination. Shug is a lot like Bill Mott. When he gets them on the right track, they keep going well. This is a multiple graded stakes winner in an ungraded stakes race. He's the only multiple graded stakes winner, I believe, in this entire race. So he's got that going for him. The fact that American Revolution in here, I love, because I'm actually going to get a good price on him here. 5-2 on Scalding is going to seem like a steal when he whips the shit out of these horses. American Revolution could get second. I'm against him, Mike, because of his price. I think he is going to be sub-even money. I think you're going to look at the form and go, look at the triple-digit buyer. Oh, that's great. Look at how good he is. He's 2 for 3 at the distance, except those 2 wins were against New York breds, and the one time he actually faced Open Company, it was Hot Rod Charlie and Midnight Bourbon, and I know what your opinions are of those 2 horses, and sure, they'd probably be favored in this spot, but you don't think those are world beaters, so if he couldn't beat them, Scalding's in here. I'd say Scalding is almost on the same level of Hot Rod Charlie at this point. Midnight Bourbon, rest in peace. Wish we knew where you were going to rank there. My point is, if he wasn't nearly as good as those 2 horses last year, we haven't seen him at H4 when he could take a step forward. But Scalding, we know what he's doing. American Revolution, we're like, hey, maybe he comes back at the same point. Maybe he's good against Open Company. Scalding has said, I've beaten Open Company multiple times. I'm a multiple graded stakes winner. And so that's why I diverge.
Yeah, I mean, Midnight Bourbon and Hot Rod Charlie would be 1-9 in this race. I mean, they would be wild favorites over Scalding, not even close. And so I think that third is significantly better than anything that anyone can put up in here. There's just a talent gap to me. And you mentioned this is the first time out as a 4-year-old. Those numbers that you're talking about, all those hundreds, the 300 buyers, are all these 3-year-olds. Like, he could take a step forward and put himself as one of the top older horses in the country if he does. I mean, that's how the upside that we have here for the 8 horse. I disagree with the price. I don't think he's going off at 4-5. I think you're going to see somewhere around 6-5, 7-5. And I think the only way he really loses in this spot is if he's A, not fully cranked, or B, if someone goes out there and tries to fire with him early and he kind of falls apart. That race back at Keeneland, I mean, to me, you're looking at Scalding and you're saying he's a multiple grade stakes winner. And I'm looking at Scalding and saying he beat Cody's Wish in Dynamic 1 for the first graded stakes at Tampa Bay in a terrible race, and came back and kind of tripped out and was set up well and was able to get the job done over Proxy. He kind of tripped out. I was there that day. I remember that race. And now he's picking up weight.
He was half a length in front of Proxy at the quarter pole. He was a head behind him at the half pole. He was a length ahead of him at the 3/4 pole, and he was a mile ahead at the finish line. Sorry, how did he trip out?
A mile ahead. He was 2.5 lengths ahead at the finish line. That's a little less than a mile. Slightly less
pick
than a mile.
5, and you got the winner. That's all that matters, Mike.
Wait. Well, I mean, do you want to do an American Revolution Scalding wager
No,
here?
because the point is we're trying to figure out winners. We're not playing the superfecta game. We're playing who's going to win the race.
Okay. Well, it's not going to be Dynamic. Who's your second horse that you use?
Santos Dumont. I got a long shot here. Let me tell you about Santos Dumont.
Tell me why Santos Dumont isn't going to win now.
Okay, so he wins 3 back, braking very slowly, going a mile at Oaklawn, which is it's stop at the 16th pole. Churchill Downs, you're going to have a much longer stretch for this horse. But I watched that race 2 back at Oaklawn Park a couple of different times. Beat a former Magic Mike Show Fantasy League horse starring in my dreams who got second that race. But there, aside from American Revolution, you brought it up, there really isn't, like from a pace perspective, I was trying to figure out who's going to go with him, who could maybe take the lead, because we actually haven't seen American Revolution take the lead going 2 turns. He only went gate to wire once, and that was going 6 furlongs. It's like maybe someone will try and challenge, maybe because, by the way, we haven't talked about it, why is Florent Giroux riding this horse, and why is Luis Saez on the donkey on the rail? We'll answer that in a second, but Santos Dumont, to me, if he gets that race 2 back, with those fractions that he was posting there, I think that he can, if Mitch Burrow is hell-bent on going to the lead, I think Drew's going to sit off with American Revolution. And if he gives him too much time, I already talked about that. I have concerns about American Revolution handling actual legitimate horses going a mile and an eighth. And I'm not necessarily saying that's Santos Dumont, more referencing Scalding there. But if American Revolution can't handle the 9 furlongs against Open Company, Santos Dumont is kind of trending upwards. That race last out against at Oaklawn Park completely scratch it out. He got pushed way back at the start. He broke from the rail, and that kind of was his undoing. Now he's in post 7. Just get him out to the lead. That's his one shot to win. And you're not going to talk me off of him, Mike, because he's 20-1.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Throw him on your ticket. Waste the bullet. I honestly think Scalding might be the horse that ends up on the lead here. I wouldn't be
really
shocked. He's shown enough speed that if he wants to try and go before American Revolution does, he can. If not, American Revolution's out there walking. I mean, I think that's the only horse that has a chance to go with him early.
There is a point here. Dennis was bringing up, why didn't American Revolution run last weekend on New York Bred Stakes Day? Couldn't get the race to fill, Chris Maiello says. It is a little interesting. I talked about earlier, Pauline's Pearl and American Revolution, 2 Grade 1 winners last out. Now they're showing up on graded stakes. But hey, the purses are great. The 15% takeout on this late pick 5, Mike, is pretty great as well. Let's move on. We've got one more leg to go. The Audubon Stakes here, and this to me is the best betting race, not just of this pick 5. The entire card at Churchill Downs. We've got 11 3-year-old males going a mile and eighth on the grass. So many different ways you can go. You've got Major General trying turf for the first time. You've got Grand Sonata showing up here. Play Action Pass at 20-1, maybe a horse that you're going to want to talk about. Where do you want to go first?
I mean, my top pick's the 2 Grand Sonata. This would be a horse that have won 5 straight times if it weren't for Psydog, or 4 straight times if it weren't for Psydog, who beat him 2 of those 4 times. I love the fact that we're getting second off the layoff here. I think that you could see a monster improvement from this horse. He just kind of hung in that Transylvania. It was a little bit disappointing for that perspective, because it really looked like he was going to go by every step of the way. I think second off the layoff, you're going to see a lot better effort here. I like the fact that we have Gaffleon back aboard. He is picking this horse over a couple others in this race, which he could have been on. And so it gives you a little more confidence in Grand Sonata on that front as well. But look, this horse did absolutely nothing wrong down at Gulfstream. Comes back, runs in a tough race at Keeneland, runs well. The extra distance should be a plus for this horse, stretching out from 1.16 miles to 1.8 miles. So I think it's all systems go for the 2 Grand Sonata. My other must-use horse was all the way to the outside, the 11-horse Major General. And this is for one simple reason. It's the unknown horse in the race, and you're going to get 8-1 on it. You kind of felt like they just tried to keep getting this horse on the Kentucky Derby trail, and he wasn't quite good enough. He is the fastest horse in the race, so if he wants the lead, he can go get it from that 11 post. And Pletcher has Grand Sonata in here and chose to put Major General in as well. To me, that shows that he actually believes this horse is going to be pretty good on the turf. Really not a ton of reason to run Major General in this spot if you have Grand Sonata, if you don't think Major General is going to fire in some way.
I couldn't use Major General just because I couldn't figure out a way that the horse really is going to win. But I went very deep in this leg, and this is a leg where really I think you can make a case for just about anybody. Like I said, I didn't go with him, but I agree with you on the top choice. Definitely going to be Grand Sonata. A big reason you talked about it, Mike. There's a lot of horses I like here, and he's leaving 2 of them to ride Grand Sonata. That race through back to Dania Beach. He had a lone speed stablemate who was trying to go gate to wire and had a really nice lead, and somehow Grand Sonata dug in and was able to get the job done. So I remember that race every time I see Grand Sonata show back up. Hasn't really had a bad race at all on the turf, aside from having some trip issues in the Central Park Stakes. Second up for me, did you use the 4-horse? Did you use Play Action Pass?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Play Action Pass comes from a race at Keeneland back in April where Mike Somich did this huge Stable 'em Up feature talking about a lot of different horses in that race that he liked. And this was one of the horses in this race. By the way, the winner of that race is 6-1 in the Grade 2 Pennine Ridge on Saturday, limited liability. So you can go check out Aaron's preview for that on our YouTube channel. But for this one, for Play Action Pass, that ride last out from Tyler Gaffleon, who I'm sadly not going to get on him this time, I thought was really heads up, because if you look at the fractions, they went 25 flat, 51 seconds, 115.5. They went slow on the Churchill Downs turf. Gaffleon read that right away and said, I'm going to put you up closer to the lead, and the horse had enough left to hold off everybody and to dig in for the win. This kind of feels to me a little bit like that, where Major General probably is going to go to the lead. Maybe Summer Anthem. Like I was looking at this, there's 2 horses with time form early pace ratings of at least 100, and one of them is trying turf for the first time. So you don't know if that's going to fully carry over. So my point is, there isn't a ton of speed here. I think this horse, if he sits a much closer trip like he did last time out, Landry's ridden this horse multiple times. He was aboard him when he won on turf for his maiden race. So I don't love that I'm losing Tyler Gaffleon, but I don't think that gaining Corey Landry in this spot is a step down here. So this is my second up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the 4 that race 2 back. We're already seeing winners out of it. We talked about it as being a key race, and it's going to continue to produce them. So I'm happy you posted that up as the stable 'em up today because that's one of those races where we talked about it specifically on the show. You'd want to find key races before they're key races, and that's kind of what we were able to find there. I think we're going to keep seeing winners out of that one. But I think the water's just a little deep here for Play Action Pass, and I'm not a big Lannery fan. This is a tough spot for this horse to be able to make a big-time run. By far the toughest race I think he's going to be in. Well, maybe that's not fair. Maybe the Grade 2 Bourbon was a little tougher. But it's just a real tough spot for him to find himself here because I think there's some other interesting horses. The 9-horse, James Jones, out of Chad Brown Barn. I mean, I'm not sure why Santana's up. Again, not a Santana fan on the turf, but this horse, I went back and watched the replay, exploded down the lane, going a mile and an eighth at Churchill. And it's interesting, how often do you see like two races, both at a mile and an eighth, right? I mean, you usually see some type of build-up for it. Clearly, this horse wants every bit of that distance. You saw that turn of foot in that Churchill Downs race where just, again, stormed home doing a 12 and for the final furlong in a mile and an eighth race at 3 is really impressive. This horse is really well-bred. If we can take a step forward off that last one, James Jones is right there. And so I think he's awfully dangerous in this spot. And these are the type of races where you got to fear Chad Brown with just shipping one in and trying to take that paycheck. So I'm going to use the 9 as well. Did you use the 9?
This was my third up. Yeah. And atop of everything, the Dam and the Grand Dam both were winners in graded group stakes races at a mile and a half. So that's why this horse debuted and stays at a mile and eighth. On that point, Ricardo, by the way, entering today, 5 for 26 on the turf this meet. So
there you go, Ricardo.
25% jockey, or sorry, 20% jockey for Chad Brown right there.
I love it. And you know, maybe he's better when he's not in New York, so I shouldn't completely, take a dump on him here. But he's definitely one of those guys at Saratoga. I'm not interested on the turf. For me, the other horse was Summer Anthem, the 8-horse. You mentioned that there's 200 time form horses, Major General on the outside. The 8 Summer Anthem is the other one. Look, that last race specifically was really nice at Keeneland, where he sat off of a lone leader and then was able to pounce and get the job done. You could see a really similar trip here where Major General goes. Summer Anthem is the actual speed that's sitting right behind Major General. Major General backs up and Summer Anthem gets first run and just gets loose top of the lane. I could see a very similar trip setting up here. We're transferring from the Brusette barn over to the Maker barn. For me, that's one of those that, it's not, I'm not going to knock either of them. I think they're both very good trainers, but Mike Maker long on the turf is generally something that's a positive. I love Temple City as a sire for these type of races, the mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter races on the grass. So for me, the 8 is kind of all systems go, and I think has a chance of taking a big time step forward as well. I like a lot of these horses that are second off the layoff here at 3-year-old because I think that is their best chance to take a nice jump up into a stakes company like this.
So fun fact on the 8, and I use this horse as well. But you just went in order. That's my 4th horse here. Summer Anthem. If you look at the sales, you see, April 2022 at Keeneland. Oh, they just bought this horse a couple months ago for $150,000. I went and looked at that because I was like, it's also interesting that April 29th this horse raced and then changed barns. The sale was April 29th, Mike. This horse went out, won that race at Keeneland. By the way, Rudy Brissett bought this horse at auction for $8,000 as a yearling. Rudy Brissett went, done. Here you go. We got my maiden win, and I got $150,000 in the bank. And Mike Maker, this isn't a claiming race where you have to put that in beforehand and hope that the horse is going to run well. Maker saw that and said, I want that horse. They put $150,000 on him that day and immediately put him here. Not a non-winners of one other than this race. So to me, that spoke volumes about this horse's chances. It makes me feel better about the fact that from that race, 5 other horses have run back and none of them have hit the board. So forget that fact. Maker's got the horse. We're moving forward, looking for improvement. We're getting a good price, 8-1. If we're getting 4-1, I'd be a little more cautious, but 8-1, I'm fine with this, Mike.
Yeah, I think that's the other key is that this is a race where because I'm using the 2, who is the favorite and the deserving favorite, not really trying to find a bunch of short prices outside of that. I want to see if we can get a little bit bigger number home, especially as you said, it's one of the better betting races. There are favorites that we like earlier. So there is a possibility the sequence goes pretty chalky. So I didn't want to go crazy here, but I definitely wanted to see if we could find some prices. And for me, the 8, the 9, and the 11 were the logical prices that could get home here.
I have 2 longer shots. I'll go through them real quick here. I am going to use, and I was going back and forth, the prices that they weren't shorter made me end up using them. They're coming from the same race. First, the 3 Tallahatchie Bridge at 10-1 for Saffie Joseph Jr. Broke his maiden at this distance, just like James Jones did. Got fourth place from that race. Broke the maiden next out, going 9.5 furlongs at Keeneland. Got a 77 buyer. So backed that up pretty well. 10th and 11th place from that last race also won their next starts. I believe they were both in for claiming tags, but they did win. And the fact that I'm using Speaking Scout in here as well means I like Tallahatchie Bridge, but with Speaking Scout 6-1 on Motion and Saez, I was a little surprised by that. They're 24% together with a positive ROI, especially when they're second off the layoff like this. And specifically this kind of situation, second off of a long layoff, Saez riding for Grand Motion at 11 sample size, 2 wins, 9 times in the money. Meaning Saez Motion second out is very live. Whether or not the horse wins, that horse has a really strong shot to hit the board. So if you're looking for a horse to maybe use underneath in trifecta, superfecta, exacta, Speaking Scout, if you don't like him to win, definitely put him in second and third on your tickets.
Yeah, I couldn't get behind either of these horses, and one of the main reasons was just how bad that race was, just from a overall timing perspective. I mean, they went 49-114, and Speaking Scout was 2 lengths off the lead sitting in second. Right? So it's right behind a slow pace. They didn't come home all that fast. There was just a lot of things about that race that left me to be just a little more desired. You saw Tallahatchie Bridge was able to come from a little bit further back off the pace. But I mean, we're talking like 2 or 3 lengths back, and both of these horses were just kind of able to roll by. I think they really benefited from a wildly slow pace in that race, and that was one of the reasons that they were both able to kind of get it done. Either of them needs to take a step forward to be competitive with someone like the two blasted Speaking Scout last time they faced each other. I think it's 2 back for Speaking Scout. So for me, it's just like, I get why you'd use both these horses, but that last race just left too much for me to be desired to kind of expand the ticket price to put both of them on.
And if you want to go a little cheaper than what because my ticket is more expensive than Mike's, if you want to go cheaper, like I said, the 3 and the 10 were the last 2 I considered back and forth, and their price at a little better odds, I'm going to go ahead and use them. But if you're looking to go cheaper, you can leave them off. Neither of us used the 5 Kaido-Dan, Mike, but I did the math on this because I was fascinated by it. His last 3 starts, we had somebody claim him for $35,000, and then they lost him 3 starts later for $80,000. In that span, if you include the difference between the 80 and the 35, his connections made $195,000 from 3 starts off of that horse, including a stakes win. That's pretty damn awesome.
That's a pretty good claim. It almost makes you wonder. I mean, you're surprised he was even available in the N1X. I mean, it just to even get claimed for 80. But when you claim a horse for 35, you sell him for 80 3 races later, and you pick up $100,000+ in purses in between. It's a pretty good couple months.
Listen, between Rich Strike, an actual claiming horse, winning the Kentucky Derby this year, and then Kaido-Dan, what he's done. Listen, it's the year of the claiming game. Everybody, get involved with horse racing. Start claiming horses like Matt. That's what we're saying here.
Go for it. Everybody, just claim them.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about the late pick 5 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, June 4th. It's all stakes. It's 15% takeout, so we're more than happy to support it there, Mike. We're going to give our tickets one last time down below. I'll go ahead and give mine out first, and these are for 50 cents. Pick 5, I'm going to start going 5-6 with 2-4 with 1-5-6 with 6-7, and then 2-3-4-8-9-10 for $72. Your ticket.
I'm going to be cheap today. I'm only going with $48. I'm going to go 4-5 with 2-4 with 5-6-7 with 1-8 with 2-8-9-11. That'll cost you $48 for 50 cents. I actually had 4 horses as possible singles in the sequence. The 4 in race 7, the 2 in race 8, the 6 in race 9, and the 8 in race 10. So if you want to go really short here, I think you can try and take a swing, because I do think there's a lot of options for singles here.
And I fully admit I might be nuts for going against American Revolution. I just was trying to find somewhere to not go to. Beating chalk in a couple of spots already. I wanted to see if I could do it there. If American Revolution wins the Blame Stakes, it's not going to surprise me. I'm trying to take a shot, and I just really like Scalding. So yeah. That's really. But if you like American Revolution, like Mike said, especially if you do like him, you maybe single him there. Mike, I don't know why. Don't use proxy. Just single American Revolution. Daryl wants to get himself blocked from the chat for a while. He wants to know what Mike thinks the Parx pick 5 would have paid if the 4 got. By the way, if you didn't, what Daryl's talking about is yesterday Mike had this great idea. Let's do Parx pick 5 coverage. It's a mandatory payout, almost $750K seated. Let's do it. And Mike was literally a Paco actually giving half a shit ride away from cashing that thing.
Yeah, kind of frustrating, because if I had singled the 6 in the 3rd leg instead of the 4 in the last leg, we would have cashed the ticket. And so it's frustrating that I picked the wrong Paco to single there. The 4 looked like he was gone, and Paco just did not. He literally didn't hit the horse once, which is wild because he lost by a nose. So you think at some point, but it looked like he was going to win by 3, because he ranges up on the outside, starts to go by, and the 5 horse is a first-time starter for an 0 for 23 barn. is able to re-rally on the inside and get by. Frustrating that happened. I mean, you want a little more effort from the ride from Paco. That really was my main issue around it. But what can you do? Yeah, as far as the will pays, it sucks that Parx doesn't put them up. It's ridiculous. It's like you have all the information, just put it up. They put up the amount of money left, which is the total amount of tickets still available on each horse. If you did that, the math came out to approximately $230 for the new money. So that doesn't include the $700,000 that was in the carryover pool. So when you add that in, it probably would have paid about $280, $290 to the 4 horse if he was able to get home. So, yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It hurts a lot more when it's more than $280 or $290. I mean, it would have been nice because it was a $54 ticket. So obviously it would have been great to cash and 6 times your money. But it was pretty frustrating, that ride.
Well, over at racingdudes.com, we still have other things for you to check out. I mentioned the Pennine Ridge Stakes. Unanimous consent has a perfect record for Chad Brown on the line. So if you're wondering, why does Chad Brown only have 1 at the Churchill Downs race? Well, that's because he's really liking this one. So the couple interesting horses there. I think it'll be 6 horses if they stay on the turf. Our fantasy horse, Gilded Age. Yeah. Is that his name? That horse. He's listed as an MTO. So I'm really hoping it rains off and he gets us 5 points for that win. But you can check out the replay for that at racingnews.com. We also have a lot of fun stuff over our YouTube channel, youtube.com/racingdudes. Mike, you brought it up, but there was I posted it because I realized I never did when you did it live on the show. But the stable, whoops, I don't want to watch this again. Don't do that. The stable them up for Keeneland from this race. You had multiple stakes contenders that you thought were coming out of this race. So talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a live allowance race at Keeneland. We already saw Play Action Pass come back and win. The winner of that race, I think, is awfully live at 6-1 in the Pennine Ridge this weekend. And there's a brown horse that was in that race that got an awful trip, had to check 2 or 3 times around the lane. Paco rode a horse there in that race that needed to make the lead and wasn't able to. That's going to come back, I believe, at Gulfstream, who I thought was worthy of a stable up as well. So there was like 4 or 5 trip issues and a very good winner and a nice second place horse. That usually generally means that you're going to end up with a key race. And we already, like I said, saw the 3rd place horse come back to win. So it's already setting up to be one of those. Definitely worth the watch. I think there's like 4 different horses that you essentially could stable up from that one race. And
maybe a different one from Play Action Pass in the last at Churchill. That, to be fair, that's not a horse that you specifically said on the show was one to come out of. You were more saying this race is live and here are horses I like. But other stuff you can check out aside from just the stable them up. Check out the dude in the shades. Saratoga Slim is back. He's been on the backside at Saratoga multiple times already. Checking out the Todd Pletcher maidens. There's a couple of unnamed multi-million-dollar Todd Pletcher maidens that he's already met. You can check out the Bill Mott barn, what a lot of the big stars are doing there. So it's a lot of fun. Saratoga Slim gets some unique insider perspective, so make sure you check that out. But like Dr. Tank says, I meant to go back to this. Your stable him up is 2 for 2 so far, and it could definitely go 3 for 3 if the Pennine Ridge goes your way.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start pulling more of these out if it's what the people want. But yeah, it was nice to it was interesting. The first one we pulled out was Keeneland. It was a 2nd-time starter, won at 5-2. That last one was Fermet, which is a little more under the radar. I know Dr. Tang actually stabled them up and I think singled them in the pick 5. They paid $11,000 at Pimlico. And you got 6-1 on Fermet. That second stable up video I think is worth watching too, because I explained why I played the horse at 15-1. Got a terrible trip that day at 15-1, and then comes back and is able to win for fun really at 6-1. So definitely worthwhile to check them out. Hopefully we can get more of these posted up soon so we can keep the hot streak going.
One thing that was fun as well was making this 5 key facts to know before betting on the Belmont Stakes. I did it for the Preakness, and it all kind of turned out to mostly be true. So go check it out. In the Preakness one, I was saying, maybe take it easy on Epicenter a little bit. I wish I'd listened to myself. Maybe I'll listen to myself with this one because there are some trends about Mo Donegal, who's currently trading as the favorite, that you should go listen to as well. So, yeah, that was 11K possible because of Fermet and Mike. Did he actually cash it?
Yeah, he hit the pick 5.
Oh, nice. Well,
yeah.
I think maybe he only tells me about his like 50K plus scores now. I was like, he didn't tell me about this one.
No, Dr. Tang, I think it was Monday that Fermet won. Dr. Tang had a good Monday too. The overall Magic Mike family enjoyed Monday. It was a good day.
Listen, it's been a good day over here so far. We're not done yet. The Blinkers Off will be live later. Dennis Watson, you got any thoughts on the sports stuff? I'm missing Dudes Who Bet Sports. Dennis, I don't know what the hell you mean by that. What are sports stuff? What's happening in sports, Mike?
Stuff? Come on, we got 2 huge games tonight.
I got the in-laws. I have no idea what's happening in
you're
sports.
killing me. The NBA Finals start tonight. You've got Boston catching 4 points at Golden State. I don't have a huge opinion. I think Boston's going to win the series, so I did bet them for the series.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, they're much better defensively. And if you look at Golden State's route to the NBA Finals, it's pretty weak. They went through, I think it was Utah and then Denver, and then they had Dallas. So I don't think that was all that difficult. They haven't faced any defense near Boston's level all for the full tournament. And now you're getting Boston to come in here off 4 days rest, which I think is a key. This is also a stretched out series, so the rest issue on Boston's side will not be as big. They've had to play back-to-back 7-game series. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for Boston to be able to kind of handle it. Tonight, I think, is going to be the toughest one for them, but I do like them plus 130 in the series. If you if you feel like you're like me and worried, I bet about half of what I would normally bet to win the series. I'm hoping they lose tonight, and then I bet the other half at a much bigger plus number when they are down 1-0. And then we have, I'm assuming you don't have any basketball points, so I'm just going to skip over you for that one.
I just don't care about basketball anymore.
And then we have game 2 of the Avalanche and the Oilers series, which was possibly the most entertaining game 1 of playoff hockey I've ever watched in my life. It was
over under 12.5 goals.
Well, the total is at 7 still. They haven't put it up to 7.5 yet, which I'm surprised because it opened at 7. Colorado's backup goalie is going to play tonight. Edmonton basically plays a backup defense, so you're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of goals again tonight. Here's the thing: Colorado is a better version of Edmonton, and in the NHL playoffs, when you have a team playing that is a better version of that team, it is the worst possible setup. Because if Edmonton opens up their game, Colorado will just destroy them with goals. If Edmonton tries to shut down defensively, Colorado will dominate with puck possession. So I don't see how Colorado loses tonight. I'm going to play Colorado -1.5 and -2 tonight. I think they're going to win like 5-2, 6-2, something like that.
Can we just I don't care so much about the New York. I mean, I care that it's exciting. This one, I feel like it's just like, can we just get Colorado to the finals? Like, I don't know. I don't have any. It's more just I can't stand Edmonton's goalie and their defense. It's like they're so front loaded and top heavy that I feel like if they get to the Cup Finals, you got Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, and then an actual team facing him with an actual goalie in net. So I don't know. I feel like the winner's coming out of the East regardless. I love the goaltending on both sides there.
I think Colorado's the best team left. The Rangers are tough, man, because every time I watch them play, they get dominated for like a period of every game, but they get really timely goals, and Shesterkin's great in goal. So they are one of those teams that just keeps impressing me because I don't have them rated very highly, and they keep playing well. I think Tampa probably bounces back, and I think that's going to be a pretty long series. I think those are two pretty evenly matched teams. I think they both lose to Colorado. I think the Avs are they're just better. I think the best team that had a shot at beating them was the Blues. And when Binnington got hurt, it made it much more difficult for us to try and get the job done. But you don't have the offensive firepower on either of those teams to be able to keep up with Colorado. And Colorado is good enough on the defensive side to be able to keep the scores lower if you're not playing just complete up and down game like Edmonton did.
Well, I know that Dudes Who Bet Sports had a show, not yesterday, 2 days ago, on Tuesday. Or was it yesterday? Regardless, Dennis, there's an episode that's over there. You go check out Dudes Who Bet Sports. But I know that they're taking the rest of the week off. So they'll be back next week. And also next week, I believe it's Monday because the Derby and Preakness was. The Belmont draw as well, which means the daily shows leading up to the Belmont Stakes, they'll be back on the YouTube channel next week as well. So make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/racingdudes and also visit racenews.com for all of your free picks for horse races across the country, as well as premium picks from guys like Mike Somich right here. Somobombs, you can check those out. The inside track to the Belmont Stakes wagering guide, the pre-sales officially started. You can check that out as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. Blinkers off was later today. Otherwise, I don't know. Have a good rest of your week, Mike. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a good time, man. Maybe we'll do, I don't know. We don't have a live show this week, do we?
Nope, we don't.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll be back.
The last one, and then we'll be live all day Saturday on June 11th for the Belmont. So someone's going to ask. Yes, we will be live all day for that one. It'll be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for following us and joining us for this chat about Churchill Downs. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb18, number 8. Corporate Overloads at Racing_Dudes. We'll be back on Monday to talk about all the fun from this weekend and maybe do another little pick 4, pick 5 sequence. But until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, everybody.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels. Never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,